Chapter 25, Fluid Balance, Screencast 2. Now, this screencast will be focusing on the concept of balance. Balance is an incredibly important topic when we are referring to homeostasis. When we talk about fluid balance, really what we're saying is the amount of fluid going into the system is equal to the amount of fluid leaving the system. And generally, we want to make sure that there is a normal distribution of water and solutes in both compartments. And please keep in mind that the relationship between water and solute in a particular compartment is really important. If you change one, you're automatically going to change the other. If we look at how this balance is influenced by multiple body systems, things that we have to keep in mind is they help bring fluid into the body. They're going to participate in fluid loss and also responsible for regulating the processes involved in making sure fluid balance is maintained. Now, when we look at intake, we can kind of assume approximately 2,500 mils per day. Now, keep in mind, this is on average. And remember, one of the probably biggest variables when we talk about fluid balance is how well hydrated a particular individual is. Now, when we look at how we describe our water, we have ingested or preformed water, and that is going to be the water that we absorb from food and drink that we consume. It actually accounts for about 2.3 liters per day, and this is the primary way in which we actually overall increase our body fluid. Metabolic water, on the other hand, remember, water is a product of cellular respiration, and we can expect the intake or production of about 200 mils per day. Fluid output, on the other hand, if someone is in balance, is going to be equal to that 2.5 liters per day. How we lose water basically is through breathing, sweating, evaporation of water through our skin, that's known as cutaneous transpiration, and defecation, whereas urination actually accounts for about 60% of our overall water loss and is the greatest component of it. Now, this is going to depend on our physical activities, environment, and internal conditions. Now, I generally do not use the following terminology. Now, water loss can be described as sensible and insensible, and also obligatory and facultative. Please keep in mind, I am addressing these just because they are addressed in our textbook, but I generally will not use this terminology, and I just think of total in and total out, and not really subdividing it into these other subcategories. Sensible water loss is that which is considered to be measurable, and this actually includes fluid loss through feces and urine. Insensible, on the other hand, is not measurable. This is the fluid that we lose in our expired air and also lost from the skin through sweat and cutaneous transpiration. The other term that we see here, or terms, are obligatory water loss. This is loss of water that is always occurring. It is the water loss through breathing and through the skin, and also water loss through feces and minimal urine needed to eliminate waste. When we look at facultative water loss, this is actually water loss that is controlled by the body. It is primarily going to be dependent upon the hydration of the individual, and this is also going to be hormonally regulated within the nephrons of our kidneys. It is the only mechanism that we have to control fluid output, and basically our kidneys are going to decrease fluid loss if body is dehydrated. Here we basically see a diagram that's focusing on fluid intake versus fluid output. And notice it's just really describing fluid intake and its various sources and also fluid output. The important thing here to remember is, as noted in this figure, it is equal. We see 2.5 liters in, 2.5 liters out, but also keep in mind that there is variation, and this may increase or decrease dependent upon the level of an individual's hydration.